So, hey, it's Chris, Liege Games. Kickstarter, right? Never-ending saga. Let's talk about controversies because, again, it always seems to pop its head up. Now, we're going to begin with the most recent development. If you're not aware, again, it's more of a social media thing. It's a little bit of a Reddit thing. It just sort of filters down throughout all of them, right? Terraforming Mars, the Ares Expedition, right? I covered it a few months ago. Big thing from Stronghold Games, big Kickstarter, big video previewers on there. Gonna be coming out shortly. Well, it is out shortly. However, in case you were unawares, it's first now, in case you didn't back the Kickstarter, at Target. So if you really want a copy, you might be able to go get one right now. Does that sound good to you? Does that not sound good to you? Now, why the controversy, right? Well, backers don't have it yet. And therein lies the Kickstarter problem, the Kickstarter incentive, and often the Kickstarter promise that you see labeled at the bottom of the disclaimer of every page. Like, hey, we're going to try and get this to you, and one of the advantages of backing it now is you get it early. Which, again, as a person backing Kickstarter, realizing that this is essentially a loan, not really an investment, doesn't really make sense to me, you know? If I'm getting a better product than retail, well, we'll get there. But how do you feel about that? Does that make you more likely to back a Kickstarter project if you're going to get it sooner? I mean, this issue is the core of why Kickstarter in the first place, right? Oftentimes we look at it from a money sense. The other side of things, we look at it from an exclusivity sense. But now, all of a sudden, there is more of the timing aspect. My personal feeling on that is I don't really care. But some people do. Now, I think the big differentiation for me is, as with a lot of these projects that show up at both, and that are designed for both the deluxe and the regular, either the deluxe is unavailable and it's only the retail showing up, or it is a lesser version, if you will. I mean, are you willing to get a superior project, superior product later, even if it's slightly more, than someone else who can just get the regular version sooner? And it's interesting because overwhelmingly, you see things split depending on where you go and how you ask and how you frame it. And that's always the interesting point of things, right? How you frame the question can often skew or bias people one way or the other. So, with Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, let's take a look at that. So, funny thing, when I was just Googling it to find the page to go to it, and I was typing in Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, the first Google suggestion is putting Target after that. So, right. So it's getting a lot of interesting clicks right now. So, you know, $1.2 million from Stronghold Games. And when was it supposed to be delivered? $39, September 2021. So, I mean, if you're in the US right now, I mean, it's not even July. So that's actually really good. Now, why is that? Okay. Well, anyway, production chain, supply chain must be pretty good. Now, what are you actually getting, though, that the retail side of things is not? And let's scroll down here and let's take a look and see, because usually they make it pretty apparent. Okay, cards, videos. Okay, here we got the unlocks. So these are the promos. Now, they are not included in the retail edition. So 1 card, 2 cards, 3 cards, 4 cards, 5 cards, 6 cards, 7 cards, 8 cards, 9 cards, 10, 11, 12, and these are all just numbered, so I'm not even sure why I'm counting along. So 17 cards, okay? And I thought I heard people saying that there was a little bit of component quality as well that was going to be different. And I don't see it on the page, but people were saying that like the inlays were going to be different and the boards were going to be double thick in the Kickstarter version of it, if you will. So there's that as well. And that's fine. that's actually somewhat of a bigger deal, because especially with one of the biggest criticisms of Terraforming Mars in the past was some of the component quality, especially the big box got railed on for that, of being kind of less than what was expected for a big box deluxe, 3D tile-ish sort of thing. Yeah, so that's not a minor thing, and that seems to be a consistent thing with the Terraforming Mars. Now, again, if it doesn't terribly affect the gameplay, but are you okay with missing 17 promos? Let's see, $39 plus shipping. What did they say was shipping? Just, without having to go to the updates, let's see what it was here. Shipping for the game, so $11. So you're paying $50. Let's see what it is at Target. So quick update, I was able to find a graphic on Board Game Geek that sort of illustrated the difference in the actual project itself. And so you're not getting the storage, you're not getting the promo cards, you're not getting the spot UV and full art box cover. Everything else is almost exactly the same except for the player boards as well. So is that worth it to you? Now, if we go over to Target, as of me filming this, and maybe by the time this video comes out, they'll have a price up, but there is nothing when I search Terraforming Mars. And the question is going to be, what is the price point going to be? Because let's say it's $30. Let's ballpark. Let's put it somewhere in the middle. I think that's reasonable. As you saw, you're paying $50 including shipping. Is $20 worth the double layered player boards, the slight better storage, and the 17 promos with the slightly different art in the box? That's over $1 per promo-ish, plus the other stuff. So are you okay with that or not? That's more of the issue. If this was, $30, or if this was $5 difference, that would be more of a different situation potentially. Now, does this sound familiar to anyone? Well, yeah, CMON had this happen with Marvel United. Now, I'm going to take this stance, which may or may not be agreed with here. I don't think these companies have any obligation to tell us what other contracts they have to fulfill. Especially, I think, with CMON, where they kind of said up front, hey, we're going to be fulfilling this through whatever. I forget who it was. But the point being, and the thing that got CMON in trouble, is that they didn't say that it was going to be split shipping during the Kickstarter campaign, and that unless you wanted to get it split shipping and pay extra on the shipping, then you were going to get it significantly later than the retail. And again, with the amount of extras that happened with the CMON, as is CMON, it was much more palatable and swallowable in terms of trying to digest that difference. Because ultimately, and because then people complained the other way, the retail version was, Marvel United Light, if you will. So clearly, you're not going to, please people on whatever side of the aisle that it falls. Also, the comment section is full of people being a little bit irate and debating this issue, whether it's on Board Game Geek, Reddit, Facebook, or don't go over to the Kickstarter comment section, because those are always a toxic mess. But it's happening there too. Should that just make you more wary of Kickstarter? Because, again, the complaint being, it's a pre-order system, right? For these large companies, for this little difference, that was why I ended up not backing several projects in the last 6 to 8 months as well. The most standout to me was Sakura Arms from Level 99 Games. The small amount of promos combined with the overhead shipping and the less than discount that I was expecting is probably going to make me pick it up at retail just to see. And it's what makes me reminiscent of that, and is what is reminiscent of this for me. Let's go back for a second to the Kickstarter page, because I want to point this out real quick. Here as said Kickstarter page, I read through this page. Remember that little clause I said at the beginning of the video, talking about how a lot of projects say, well, why should you back it now? Because you can get it earlier. You can get it a month earlier. You can get it 2 months earlier, right? Exclusivity, right? Be the hottest person on your block with the board games. That didn't come out right, but you know what I mean. But interestingly enough, Stronghold Games has left that completely out of this page, as far as I can tell. So that was not promised. There was no guarantee there. Does that make you feel different about things now? Does that change your viewpoint knowing that? That, people are crying a little bit over spilt milk potentially? Now, no, don't get me wrong, I'm not approving of this practice, but they're not also breaking anything that was said here either. So that's another interesting aspect of things. Now, I guess the other interesting aspect of things is if this was, and I see this debate happens all the time too, if this was one of your friendly local game stores that was getting it instead of Target, because I see that debate all the time where people say this in social media everywhere. Support your friendly local game store, even if it costs more, because they're providing the environment for the board game scene, especially in your neighborhood. If this was your friendly local game store instead of Target, would people be saying the same thing? Would they be, again, framing the conversation and the bias a little bit differently? I don't know. But it's sort of where my head goes and what I wonder about. Also, does this make you any more concerned about backing Kickstarter in the future? I mean, the other phrase I hear being talked about all the time is it's a glorified pre-order system, right? Well, in this case, it kind of was. Because that difference, again, between retail and non-retail was not going to be that different. And you're not even getting the price discount that you would maybe hope to with a la, Leader Games-ish, to use them as a good example. Or with a free expansion-ish to make the difference in whatever it may be, price, timing, whatever, more palatable. It's another reason at this point that as much as I like backing stuff on Kickstarter, don't get me wrong, I get the, endorphin rush just like everybody else, the FOMO just like everyone else. I have also backed off considerably, even with games I desperately want, for this very reason. Now, again, not the timing reason of the why back now reason, because I don't see it giving to me. Because as much as I see the other argument for the online game stores all the time, and the friendly local game stores in terms of supporting it and things like that, and supporting your in-lead publishers, at some point, consumer-wise, you have to look out for yourself too. Because, I don't know about you guys, buying all of these games, even this pre-shipping fiasco, which is going to do this to prices, imagine paying $10 to $15 extra on every single game or purchase that you do. And somehow the dichotomy is there because people will do that on Kickstarter somehow. But then you see the opposite when it comes to these online game stores where people are like literally, pennying and dollaring it and trying to get to the free shipping side of things to save the most money on that side of things. So that split somehow is just, something that people can do, but it's kind of two sides of the same coin as well, if that makes sense. And especially now, post or even pre getting into the crux of this whole shipping debacle that is going to be 2021 and likely 2022, can you afford to have this happen too many times with projects going forward? If you can't, like most people, it's going to mean less projects backed because you're going to have to be more selective. It also means companies are going to have to be, hopefully, a little bit more cognizant of that in enticing people, which could be a good thing, could also be a very bad thing. Because there is a way to entice people and there is also a FOMO enticing. And we both have seen it, and we have seen both, and we know what both are, and we all have done both. Games that have just so much stuff that I cannot afford not to get it on Kickstarter, and games that I truly don't know if they're going to go to retail. But then I'm also going to pay much more of a premium than I think what the game is actually worth, or the value perceived from my side of things. I mean, I have plenty of games like that. I just overpaid for Let's Make a Bus Route, the dice game, to get it shipped from Japan, because now they're shipping from Japan for that sense. But is it worth the $50 or so? No. It's a tiny box. It's not. But in my mind, it is. And so that is where people are going to have to start to be more choosy. And how is it going to affect designers and publishers and the people who aren't Stronghold Games and Simon and Awaken Realms on the logistics side of things? How is it going to affect all of the small games that you see me talk about on a weekly basis in the roundup that do not have these vast resources, these vast collections, these vast ability to adopt, adapt, and market? That is a concern. Some would say survival of the fittest, but that's not necessarily the case either. So, we'll see. If you made it this far, dealt with my ramblings, my rants, my expositions, thank you very much. Love it if you click the like or the thumbie. Or if you want to subscribe, that'd be awesome. Either way, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts. This is a big one. Encapsulated in a small one, but it's a big issue. Thanks for watching. Stay classy.